Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I am just getting home from work. It is about 5:21 and it is Wednesday, March the 14th, and today is my little brother's birthday. Well, I am 51 and today he is 40, so we're about 11-12 years apart, and today is his birthday, and I'd like to wish you a beautiful day and I hope you have a great one. And I remember when you were brought home when you were a little baby boy, and Chuck and I have another brother and I have a sister, and my other brother is 1 year younger than I am, and I was 11-12 years old, 11 I guess, when he came home from the hospital. And I remember my stepfather, his father at the time, we have different fathers, but him pulling up in the car from the hospital, and I remember running alongside of the car because I was so excited to see my brother. I don't recall seeing him prior to that, but maybe I did. I'm not really sure, but my mother gave birth, of course, at the hospital, and then I remember running alongside the car we had a very, very long driveway, and we lived in the country when he was a baby. And I just remember being so excited that my little brother was coming home, that I had a baby brother, and he was so beautiful. Mikey, my little brother, he was so beautiful when he came home from the hospital. And I left home when he was 5 years old, and it was, he meant everything to me and still does. I remember him being the cutest, most adorable baby. I thought he was the most precious little baby in the world. I really did. He was so beautiful. He still is beautiful, but he was like the cutest, adorable, most adorable baby that I've ever seen in my life, really. And I would tell everybody, look how cute he is, look how beautiful he is, look how cute he is. So happy birthday to my baby brother, and I hope you have a beautiful day, and I wish I was home to give you a big hug and to take you out to eat or something, but I'll do that when I get home. Hopefully maybe this summer. I'm not sure. Anyway, so happy birthday to you. And so I'm just getting home from work for the Royal Swedish Ballet, and I want to put on some music and just share my day with you and just share with you today. I'm in a good mood today, and let me just find some music. And I'm having coffee too. Sometimes I have coffee when I come home from work because I like that. I love coffee. Coffee is nice. Not all the time because, you know, I have no problem sleeping later, normally. We were on stage today with another cast of Artifact, which I'm staging this Forsyth piece. If you're just now watching me, or if you're just stopping by my channel, I'm a stager of the William Forsyth Ballet Artifact, and I'm staging Artifact Suite here with the Royal Swedish Ballet. And I've been to, this is like my 4th week, I think, and we premiere next week on Friday the 23rd, and then another show for me. I'm staying the 24th, and then I leave the 25th. We have a show on the 25th, a matinee. So we are working really hard, and today they weren't so good. Like, they've been rising and doing good, and you know, it's interesting because I have to be honest with them and tell them what I think, but it's just interesting because it's only perspective, but since it's my responsibility, so you know, other people can really be, I'm happy to hear other opinions about what they see on stage, but in my opinion, they weren't so good, so we've got a lot of work to do. But that's what it is, you know, we're still rehearsing, we're still getting ourselves ready for the show coming up, and we've got like a week and a half left. And so, yeah, I don't know, I'm just gonna turn on some background music and let it play while I'm talking to you and share with you today. What am I gonna talk about? I don't know, I'm just turning this on, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about like, I'm gonna read some being human quotes right now. And what does it mean, being human? Isn't that different for everybody? Everybody is like, I don't know. You know, as I think about being human, like, or being a person, what is a person? It's interesting. I'm just going to share with you openly and freely because I think a lot about existence, and I think a lot about existence and who we are and what we are, and you know how everything happens to you. So, like, as a perspective, like, it's interesting for me to think. When I came into this world, I was born into a family, okay? So I was born into a family. It's interesting because I was a baby and born into a family, and born into the environment. My parents were really young, so my mother was 17 when I was born, and my father was 21 when I was born. So I had very young parents, and so I came into, so you can imagine that was really difficult. And I also have a sister that's 3 years older than I am. So so there was 2 children, and my parents were still together. We're still together when I was born, but soon separated. And I have a gay father, so that's part of it too. But what I want to talk about is that I want to talk about what makes a person. Like, it's interesting for me as I started to wonder about my existence. Like, I've always been kind of curious about my existence, you know, when I wasn't, you know, influenced by, like, you know, the character that I was developing as I was younger. If that makes any sense. Like, the very first thing, you come into this world, you're born into a family, and the family already has, like, circumstance and, you know, their families, and agreeing and disagreeing with how to raise a child and the proper way to raise a child. And you're a bundle of nerves, I think, and you come into this world, and then you are given a name. Like, basically, sometimes the names are chosen before you're even born, right? So that's interesting. So my name is Maurice Dwayne Causey, and my mother named me Maurice, and I've always used my name Maurice in my profession. So when I left home, or when I went away to ballet school when I was 15 years old, they asked me, like the first day someone said, "What is your name?" and like introduce myself to people, and they said, "What is your name?" and I said Maurice, because Maurice was on my birth certificate, but my family never ever called me Maurice. They always called me Mari. And Mari, I was named after my grandfather, who was Maury, and you spell it the same way, and to not confuse us, they call me Mari, and that's how you can pronounce it. You can pronounce it Maury and Mari. So anyway, so that's what my family called me, Mari. And so I was given that name, and Maurice means dark skin. So that's also interesting. Apparently when I was a little baby boy, I had dark hair and darker skin. And apparently I had hair on my back, like a little bit of hair on my back. And my mom named me Maurice because it meant dark skin, or dark skin, I think. So, and it's also a French name, but I'm not French, and I don't really know my my heritage. Like, I'm not really sure about that. So, I think my aunt, who's passed now, who did a family tree a long time ago. But anyway, that's a little bit of that. So you come into this world and you're given a name, and you already have your parents, and so conditions are already created, and then you grow up, so you're given these things, and also I'm circumcised. So that was also a choice that was made, that I didn't make that choice. So I always thought that was really interesting as I got older. What if I wanted to keep that? What if I wanted to be, you know, what if I didn't want that to happen to me? But anyway, apparently, you know, it's interesting because I live in Europe now, and most men, my boyfriend is not circumcised, and so, and it depends, I guess, on religion, and apparently it's more, I don't know, they say like it's more more healthy hygiene thing, you know, to circumcise boys. Well, anyway, and also like when you come into the world, I've heard that they slap you, I don't know, and because you cry or catch your breath and all of this stuff. So you're born into your environment, and everything around your environment when you're a little boy creates who you are. So it creates, circumstance creates who you are, and so you start to learn how to, you know, like when you're a baby, you know, I didn't really realize this, but as I start to, I'm very curious about my development and everything. You know, people come and go. You're in the baby, you're laying in the cradle, and people come and go and say, oh, how cute, and they play with the baby, and then they leave. You know, it's like my father was there at one time, and then this person left. And I recorded all that, I think, in my existence. So, where am I in this equation? If it's at all interesting for you to like start to recognize and realize, it's very interesting for me to realize that first of all, I'm not my name. Second of all, a choice was made for me when I was a little boy to be circumcised. Maybe that's not a big issue, but it's interesting because I don't know, maybe I didn't choose that. I didn't choose my name, I didn't choose being circumcised, I didn't choose the family I was, apparently. But that's a whole nother topic, because if you believe, there's something about consciousness and belief, and that's a whole nother story. So I believe in other things, but this is just circumstance. So I came into this world, and I have, you know, I was raised by young parents, and my grandmother raised me a lot when I was a little boy too, as well. So I grew up in the environment with my grandmother, and I had a sister who was adopted by my grandparents, and so she didn't live with me, but I lived with my mom, who was, I don't know, a single parent at once, and then she remarried again, so I had another person in my life who was my stepfather who was my brother, who is 1 year younger than me. So all of these circumstances, it's like, Mama, you know, I'm just sharing my story, which is part of my story, and I love you so much, and you know that. But this is the reality of a person's life, or a unique perspective. So we're all unique in this way. So all this was my circumstance. So I came into the world and I had all that. So I had to grow in an environment that was like this. And also I grew up in the Bible Belt, so there was a religion around me. And religion was, everybody believed in a God around me, basically. Believed in, you know, whichever congregation or denomination that they belonged to, whichever religion. And there were several religions there were 3 daughters, okay? So I have an aunt, and I had 2 aunts, and it's my mom. So there were 3 daughters. And then because my sister was adopted by my grandparents, my sister became my mom's sister. So that's also complicated, but I'm gonna talk about that. So, but that was part of my life too. So there's also these puzzles and pieces and things that you put together, and you become like a person. Like you become like that's what your beginnings are. And so everybody has different experience. So, and also I'm American. So am I American? Am I my name? No, it's my culture, it's where I grew up. So yes, as labels, it's interesting because I became this created little guy who came into this world. And you know, like, so I had already some kind of identity. And then, you know, when you're like 2 years old, you start to learn how to get what you want as a baby. You know, that's how we grow. And then our environment dictates to us how we are and how we learn, how we grow. And then we start to walk, and then the ego starts to be developed, and you start responding to your environment, and then you're created. So then you're created. It's like a baby becomes a little young boy, and then grows up in the environment, and then you go to school, and then you're subjected to a schooling system, and then a church system, and then your home environment, and then all of this stuff you start to learn how to manipulate, but you don't know any of this because it is something you navigate, and your ego is developed, and you start to navigate yourself through this, through the world, through your world, and all of this taken. Are you following me? Like, are you following me? Because it's very interesting thing to think about for me. Like, I just think about, which is something, you know, when I identified to my ego, and I started to learn and to be manipulated, and everything outside of me was dictating who I was supposed to be and how I was supposed to be. All of that is very interesting today in my existence, and so. You know, all of a sudden you're hijacked in some ways, and you don't even realize it. So you start to become the person that everybody is telling you that you are, right? So, can you see that? So it's very interesting. So the whole world is like this, and so we take it for granted that we are this little identity, ego that is developed because of all circumstance and all systems and environment and all of that stuff, and the influences of that creates a character and creates a person and a personality. So it's interesting to ponder when you realize that what is behind, like, who are you behind all of that? Like, how, like, before everything that was developed in your life, and it's so miraculous to come to realize, because when I started to realize this, I started to question, like, as a baby, if I was subjected to other things, then I would have turned out another way, maybe. I don't know. This is only a perspective. Let me just say something right now, like, I would not change anything in my life, anything. I love my mother, and I know, like, there are stories upon stories upon stories, her stories, my father's story, my grandparents' story. I had 2 sets of grandparents. I have 1 grandparent left, and Big Mama, I love you so much. And I've still got her left, who is the sweetest woman in the world, but she's got her story, and then her stories before her stories. So it's like, you know, it's how we grow. And when we grow, we are that, like, all of that environment is creating who you are. So, it's a very interesting topic to think about who you are, because when you realize that, you know, like, I talk a lot about my happiness and my, you know, my suffering and all of this stuff, but when I realize all of the conditioning and the, you know, if I can say even like brainwashing, because in a way it is brainwashing, because, you know, this conditioning is making you think that you are that, because that's what you've been told. And so everything, you're an imprint, blueprint. So everything's imprinted on you, and you start to identify with that character. And when to make this long story short, which I could talk about this all day because I find it very, very interesting, I realized that I am not that character. I am not the Maurice. I am not Maury. I am not these things. This is my identity that has been given me. I'm not American. Do you see what I mean? Of course I'm American, so there is a level of reality that is there. But as I started to become very curious about my existence and why I'm here on this earth, when I started to just investigate all of that, or just become aware of all of that through therapy and through life coaches and life circumstance and suffering and all of that stuff, when I didn't take it for granted anymore, I started to realize that I had a possibility to let go of that identity and to create my own identity. And so I became, you know, I keep my name, of course, because it's easier, I guess. I don't want to just walk around with a... I don't know, but it's interesting. I don't know, like... I don't know, you know what I mean? So it's really, really very, very interesting thing to think about. Because actually, it alleviated or got rid of a lot of irrational suffering of comparison and competition, because everybody had told you, you are that. That's what you are. So behind all of that, I asked myself, and I ask myself, what am I, and who am I, and what is up there, and what is all around me, and what happened prior to this? Do I have a say in all of this? Do I have a say in this development of a character? Can I respond how I want to respond? You know, you're so conditioned that you firmly believe that you are all those things that has been given to you. And you even believe you have a birthday because you're born on that day and that you come into the world. Now, this is very deep for a lot of people, but deep it is. And it is an opportunity, or I'm offering you an opportunity as I share this, to question all those things, because it is a way to realize that love can be unconditional, and the hatred, you know, is interesting because there is, in our environment, especially in America or around the world right now, there is this self-hatred that comes with that, because you believe that you are, you know, all of these things. And then when you really realize that, really, like, I don't know, it's kind of cool. It's really cool, because then a lot of suffering and pain goes away, and it becomes, you become aware of the biggest question about what life is. So I think that we are not any of those things, because it's very simple and very clear to me now in my life, and I ask myself the question. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say, because this would be a very, very long video, and I just want to just share that and find it's very interesting about a person's perspective on their existence and how we are developed. And yeah, so Mama, like, you know, maybe I wanted to be circumcised, although it's very interesting. No, I'm not going to go there. I have to go there right now. What do I prefer? It's very interesting, those kind of things. And there's an opportunity in that too. So maybe it's supposed to be like that. Obviously it is what it is, so there's no need to change anything. But you can change the way you think about things and realize the conditioning is controlling your life and all that kind of thing. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and it's just it's a grand perspective on life in general, and it's a beautiful way to look at things and to let go of that identity. And it's not easy, because when you start peeling the onion, you know, the layers upon layers and layers and layers of all the years and all the experiences that create that, and then you start to ascend because you start recognizing that consciousness and the awareness of all of that is a possibility. That's what I want to say. So I wish you a beautiful day, and thank you so much for watching if you watched this far, and subscribe to my channel. And welcome, I have a new subscriber. I don't know who you are, but I have a new subscriber, and that's always so nice to have someone here with me so I share, because we need each other. I can't share without an audience, but I can, I guess, you know, whatever. Welcome to my channel, and thank you for watching me, and I continue to share, and I'm 1 away from 100, and when I get 100 I can get my own, like, URL or something, you know, with YouTube, with Maurice Causey the Valiant. Alright. I love you so much, everybody. Thank you for watching me. Peace, love, and a little bit of hair grease is good too. Bye.